Hey.
What's up?
I don't know. That open threw me for a loop. Like, we still have the drum beat going on. I don't know.
Dolphin?
I don't know what was happening there.
Why are there dolphin noises?
I think that's supposed to be a platypus. I don't know.
Is that what a platypus? Oh.
Oh, yeah, careful.
Is that what a platypus sounds like?
The only platypus that I know of is Perry the Platypus from Phineas and Ferb, and he does make some sort of weird squeaky noise, but that is not a platypus. That's clearly a dolphin. But maybe we couldn't find a platypus, and so we went with a dolphin. All I'm telling you is, into that intro, normally there's like some music, like there's a little, it's like a jumping off point. I didn't know what to do with what we just had.
Who makes those?
That opener. I'm assuming Swag.
Was that Swagar?
I believe, yeah.
It
wasn't
sounded,
me. That's all I know.
It sounded to me like voice guy, Vic Orlando.
That was Vic Orlando.
Also said, Rivalry Week.
Oh. Did he mean to drop a Rivalry Week?
You know how.
Hunting Wabbit?
Well, that's easy to do.
Yeah.
But I feel like, can we play it again? Can you pull that up?
Voice guy wouldn't do something like that on accident. He's a GD professional.
Well, I know, but maybe
slipped one by the goalie, you know?
Yeah. Like maybe no one, I mean, it's pretty subtle, but I'd like to hear it again.
Sure, why not?
I think I heard
okay, we can restart.
The first time, because he said it twice. But
hold on, Schulte's freaking out in there. You've thrown him he wasn't prepared for this.
Is he even listening to us?
I don't know. He's wearing a Mariners shirt again, though. I know that.
Hey, we have a short show.
I know. So good thing we're spending all this time right now getting right into sports. So
hour and a half.
Short show leading into the fever that is Duck basketball.
I got to be honest. I feel bad taking Odyssey's money today.
A little bit. Are you going to give some back?
No.
Who is the was
it's all part of the deal.
Wasn't it the Yukon coach? Not a dime.
Not a
damn dime. Jim Calhoun here for not a dime.
Okay, I want you to listen to not the last Rivalry Week, but the second to last.
Okay, second to last.
Yeah, I think
this is the week that splits families in half.
Some of the relationships that I built through playing football at a university like this, it just reaffirmed to me why I wanted to do this.
Right, we've been making deposits. Today you cash checks.
This is the week that splits the platypus in half. This is a Rivalry Week edition of Primetime.
Yeah,
with
100%.
Isaac and Sue.
He did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he Rivalry Week did.
Rivalry Week.
He did. Apparently Elmer Fudd.
What?
I don't know.
Vic?
Apparently Elmer Fudd is big into the Civil War. No, that was. I think he slipped up.
Why not read it again?
Well, my guess is that he just didn't realize it, and it just kind of slipped by. I mean, he probably.
And then quality control Jason Swigard would never catch something like that.
No, well, Vic sits in his studio, his palatial estate there, and probably cranks out.
Yeah. That guy's great. He lives in Seattle.
Yeah, and he does stuff up and down I mean, really all over the country. So he's probably doing that for the Iron Bowl. He's doing that for the big game. He's doing it for on and on. And so, yeah, he's just cranking those out, and he let a Rivalry Week slip through. You know.
Well, I think it's cute.
You got to ask him a question. It happens to the best of us. God forbid I have to read anything involving Jared Goff. I mean, he got a Rivalry Week.
Yeah,
but you were. I did not catch it. You did.
Yeah, I listened intently to the fan. I don't
but
know if you know
it is 100% a Rivalry Week.
I'm a P1. Yeah, Rivalry Week.
So I just want you to know for the rest of the time that we're on, which is limited, I will refer to it as the Rivalry Week.
Is it possible? Maybe even we may be asking too much of Schulte over there. Is it possible to clip it? Can we clip that? Is there a drop there? Yeah,
I think there is.
Yeah, I think there is.
Anytime we're discussing the big, rivalry, then it just goes right into Rivalry Week.
Okay, let's get to it.
Let's go.
Only an hour and a half, guys. On a Monday, that's not enough.
No, it's not. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I do. We start with the poll question.
Love the poll.
And it's on X at 1080 The Fan. Today, before I get to today's, we'll get to Fridays. But it's brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling, a family business helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Friday, we asked who you gots. Beavers won over the Huskies, 68% to 32%.
Everyone was on the Beavs, and so I did the old when one side's taking all that action, I'll go the other way and I'll grab you, Doug.
Yeah, there isn't anybody that liked the Huskies.
No, I was right down to the wire, and
you knew it would be though. Yeah. You knew it would be a tough game, and the Huskies were going to have to earn it, and they did.
Yeah, which again, I know it didn't look the most impressive thing in the world, but dude, those sons of guns are on the precipice of finishing the first ever undefeated Pac-12 season. So I give them all the credit in the world.
So today's poll question on there is you have to win one game. Who is your QB1? You only have two options.
Ooh, not even giving me a 3.
Michael Penix or Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
That's it. You got to win one game.
Not even close.
Not
right
even
now.
close,
No.
he says. Wow. Controversy right out of the gate.
I'll say this, and look, I picked UW to win the conference this year, and I've been saying through probably the first 7 weeks of the season that Michael Penix was your Heisman Trophy winner, and so I do not have a dog in this fight. I am not biased. I am not a duck honk. I am not a husky honk. I try to be as neutral as humanly possible. And I love Michael Penix. I like him more than I think most people do, especially when it comes to the NFL stuff. But look, Bo Nix has not had a bad week all year. Plain and simple. Hasn't had one. The game against UW, Penix was amazing against Oregon, and Bo Nix was amazing against UW. And UW came out on top. So give him credit for that. But since then, Michael Penix does not look like a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Period. He has had bad stretches, and he has had bad games. And I'd make the argument, I understand that the rain was tough, but even when it dried up, dude, Penix was not very good in that game. There were plays to be made. Now, Polk couldn't catch a cold, kept slipping through his hands, but I have watched UW play every single game this year, and I've watched Bo Nix and Oregon play every single game. And when you look at the totality of it, Bo Nix is the better quarterback right now. He just is. He hasn't had a bad game. And I don't know what it is with Penix. I don't know if it's the pressure. I don't know if the injury that he sustained, kind of the core rib stuff. I don't know what it is, but he has not looked the same since the Oregon game. Still great and still undefeated. And I'm not putting Oregon over UW. Far from it. UW just keeps winning. Give him all the credit. And Penix was big when they needed him to, and came up with a huge throw to Ndunze, who I still think is the best receiver in the country. But he does not look the same as he did at the start of the year. And I think right now, in a little bit of, if you want to make a controversial statement, I think he's living off reputation. Because they're winning these games, right? No one wants to point it out. But these games could have gone the other way easily. And if one or two had gone the other way, people would be nitpicking Penix, and they'd have every right to. If Oregon was losing games, and they did against UW, and they haven't had a close one since, it's hard to nitpick Bo because he's not doing anything bad.
Well, I think that's what it is. It's like, Nix has just been so perfect.
Yes.
Since that game, and the Huskies won that game fair and square, but since that game, the Huskies have played nothing but close games.
Yes.
Even against bad teams. And that's why we don't really know what to make of Washington. I mean, obviously they're really good.
Yeah.
They deserve to be undefeated. That's a hell of a team and a hell of a quarterback and a hell of a coach. But, give me a team that would be 11-0 at this point with that resume. They just beat 3 straight top 20 teams.
It's ridiculous.
And they beat number 8 Oregon, who is now number 6. They were 8 at the time. So they have 4 top 20 wins. You can't knock them in any other way other than, they almost lost to Arizona State.
Yeah. But
and Stanford.
We see this every year where teams kind of go through this mid-season kind of
They do,
lull.
but it's not like it's just so weird how they're just in an odd place. And I'm sure their fans are pulling their hair out because they're giving them a heart attack every week.
Yeah.
But here they are. They just don't. I don't know. There's something about them that doesn't feel like, the elite teams, we know who they are. Michigan is one. Georgia is one. Ohio State is probably one, right?
Yeah.
I don't know and we think Oregon is one, but I don't know if Washington's one. I don't know how you can say that really because they're undefeated, but watch them play. I don't know what to do with them. There's no other team that would be 11-0 with that resume and a quarterback like that and still be ranked 4th.
Yeah.
Why are they not number 1? Well, the reason they're not number 1
they don't look it.
is they just don't look it.
If they were beating teams the way Oregon was beating teams, it would be different.
They're number 1.
Although don't look now, but dude, Georgia's starting to.
Oh, F Georgia.
Georgia's got it figured out.
God, are they going to win 3 in a row?
I think so. They are starting to. They gave up a 75-yard touchdown first play against Tennessee. And, it was like they didn't even blink. It was like, oh, yeah, that's great. All the momentum. We're going to kick you in the nuts now for the next, 2.5 hours. they've got it rolling. They had if you were going to get them, you were going to get them at the beginning of the year when they were working through some stuff and working in new guys and figuring out their quarterback situation. I tend to think that we all may be playing for second place again with the way Georgia's going. But to your point, if UW was beating the teams the way Oregon was beating teams, yes, we would be viewing this as they are number one or number two. But they're not.
They're not.
They're not.
And they haven't for weeks.
No, when you look through, so this is what I was saying with Penix after the Oregon game, 27 of 42, no touchdowns, 2 picks. That was against Arizona State, right? And then Stanford, they bounced back. They scored 42. He was 21 of 37. That's still only 56%, but he did have the 4 touchdowns, but he did have another pick. Stanford, 22 of 30. Okay, so that's the big game, right? But it's Stanford. But again, 2 touchdowns, still had a pick. And then against Utah, 24 of 42. That's 57%. And then against Oregon State, 13 of 28 for 162, 46%. And I understand that was in a monsoon, but still, and some of those were drops. It did not, their offense at times looked dreadful in that game. And their run game kind of bailed them out, and then they were able to make enough plays down the stretch.
Well, how do you explain the Arizona State game? I mean, they didn't score an offensive touchdown.
At the time, I just thought he was injured. I still believe that he was more hurt against Oregon than anyone lets on, because they were shredding Oregon, and then he took that hit, and it didn't look the same again after that. Right? They made the play down they made the drive at the end, and I don't think it's quite looked the same since. But here we are a month later. That can't be it. And we've seen the flashes. Like I said, he had the one outlier game where he was awesome, but that was against Stanford, who's dog mess. I don't know what it is, but it does not look the same. And they should be very grateful that they have found this run game all of a sudden with Dylan Johnson, because the run game wasn't there at the beginning of the year, but now it is. And the run game has been able to kind of, buoy them up a little bit, and the defense keeps making stops, timely stops when they need to. We're going to sit here and bag all over their defense, but again, when they needed to, they needed one stop, and they did it. They did. They stopped them on 4th down, ball game. So I'm not discounting Washington at all, because I watched TCU do this last year to the doorstep of a national title and then Georgia, and this Washington team is a much better team than TCU. So dismiss Washington at your own peril. And I think a lot of Beaver fans were doing that last week. But
I don't think it's dismissal. I think it's just we don't know what to do with them.
They're damn good, but they don't look. They don't look.
It's weird. All right, the AAA heating and cooling poll question: you have to win one game. Who is your QB1? Michael Penix or Bo Nix? Log on to X and vote at 1080 the fan. We pinned that to the top of our account. Vancouver Ford text line can be reached at 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com. A major injury affecting the top 5. Jordan Travis is now out. Is Florida State? We'll get to that next on The Fan.
It's
week. I think it's more of a he doesn't do a rivalry week. He does a rivalry week. So we're pulling the audio.
Yeah, it sounded Elmer Fudd to me.
Jeff Rust found the raw audio, so we will have it in full.
Compare and contrast. All right.
So because it's Thanksgiving on Thursday, we have no show. We wouldn't have a show anyway because the Seahawks are playing.
Yeah.
But we also don't have a show Friday because the Civil War game is on Friday here on the Fan.
So we got all the post game stuff that would take us off the air anyways.
So we have only basically 2 shows and then what's left of today's show, which is about an hour and 10 minutes. So we're going to cram all of our guests into Wednesday's show. So just a little programming note: Hugh Offill from A will be on 3:30 on Wednesday. The spread that they hung on, the line that they hung on the Civil War game is 14.
Yeah.
Although I've been reading that maybe it's been bet down to 13.5. Oregon favored, of course. We will have Dan Lanning on our show.
Yeah, we weren't certain, but
he's coming on.
yeah.
He wants to talk with his helmet on Wednesday.
Going to talk with his turkey. Dark meat, of course.
Yes, he loves the dark meat.
Which is really the only way to go.
Yeah, see,
Get
I
that
like
white meat out of here.
I like the white meat.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
bullshit.
like them both, but as you know, Mike Lynch and I for years.
Yeah, you're anti-turkey.
No, not true. Turkey's mid. Turkey's very mid.
That's kind of anti-turkey.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but I like turkey. It's just it's not.
You know, at the Sukanic household, we
Ham.
do no.
You guys go ham.
No, we do Asian. Like we haven't done an American Thanksgiving in years.
Yeah.
We do we do Korean barbecue. Has been us. So we've got we got no turkey happening. All kinds of meats, no turkey, no ham at our Thanksgiving.
So Lanning is coming on Wednesday at 4, and then Joey Harrington will be on 5:30 on Wednesday as
So
well.
we're gonna make up for our hour and a half show by cramming everything into a Wednesday.
Well, we
show.
have to talk to all 3 of those guys.
I know.
It's a big week.
It is a big week.
And so that will all be on Wednesday. Okay, so let me read some text before we move on. The Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. We were talking about Washington and what to do with them, and they're undefeated, and they win again, but Penix doesn't look the same, and the Ducks are cruising, but the Ducks don't have a huge win.
Don't have a win over a top 25 team.
So here are some texts on that topic. Oregon's depth shows Washington does have a lot of injuries and doesn't have the depth.
I think that is a very accurate statement, and they were talking about it on the game. Their back end linebacker depth on the D line, they just don't. Now, like receiver depth, absolutely. I mean, McMillan's one of the best receivers in the country and hadn't played at all this year, and it's no big deal because you have 2 others. But, they really have 1 running back because their starter went down at the beginning of camp. And yes, I do think that does play a role in this, is the depth of Oregon is much, much greater than the depth of Washington.
Another one says, scoreboard, UW is undefeated. Who cares otherwise? Duck fans need to shush. They lost to Washington 2 years in a row.
Now, to be fair, I also have been saying that. The beauty part of this is if you take care of business on the Civil War, Washington's already
It
in.
doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, Oregon, you get a chance to have a revenge game. Now, if Oregon loses to Oregon State and Arizona wins, thanks for coming. It's the Wildcats and the Huskies.
Another one. UW just isn't a very physically imposing team. They have a few very good players that seem to make plays at the right time, or other teams make mistakes in critical situations. Okay. All signs show Oregon will handle Washington easily in the Pac-12 title game on the eye test. I'm not expecting it, but wouldn't be surprised one bit if Oregon throttles them going to the playoff.
Well, I'm certainly not going to say that because everyone keeps saying that, and all UW does is beat them. Beat them at your place, beat them at their place. Look, I think Oregon looks great. I think Oregon looks as good as anyone in the country. I'm not calling Oregon to beat their ass. And I'm telling you, when this game happens, if it happens, big if, got to take care of the Bees first. If that game happens, everyone and their grandmother is going to say that UW doesn't have a chance, and that's foolish. It is absolutely foolish to sit here and say that UW can't beat them when they've done it 2 years in a row.
Why are you only talking about completion percentage and not yards? Plus, in the monsoon, Penix still had 3 tutties, no picks, took care of the ball. Yeah, people do like to point to Bo Nix's completion percentage, which leads us to this text. It's easy to look great throwing checkdowns and bubble screens against crappy teams every week. That's what Nix does.
See, this
Not one win against top 25.
Okay, so this is just flat out stupid.
Yeah,
this
it really is. Like, you don't watch. If you think that's true, you don't.
You don't watch. I'm open to. again, I've been saying most of the year that Michael Penix is the best quarterback in the country and deserves the Heisman Trophy. But if I can't say that right now. I can't. The last 4 weeks has changed my mind. But if you really think that Bo Nix is out there checking down and throwing little dump passes, you just don't watch. It's an ignorant statement. I'll listen to a different opinion. I'll listen to you give me reasons why you think that Penix Still or Drake May or Beck down in Georgia right now who's killing it. Anyone. I'll listen to any argument. But to sit there and say that Bo Nix is a product of check downs, that's dumb. Go look at Troy Franklin's numbers. Who else is throwing Troy Franklin the ball? Because he has as good of numbers as anyone in the country, including yards per catch. And that's not on little bubble screens. It's just not. So you got to get over that Oregon check down crap. They throw it downfield.
The idea of maybe if you want to turn it into, if we were talking Penix versus Nix, if you want to turn it into more battle-tested, more moments, probably Penix.
Sure. Because he's had
over
to.
Nix.
Well, and he came up with the win over Nix.
But Nix is almost so efficient that he lulls you to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to overlook how good he is because he can really sling it. It's just, I don't know. He's been damn near perfect. Look at his number. Have you seen Bo Nix's numbers?
They're absurd.
He had 6 more touchdowns over the weekend.
And by the way, he's not playing deep into some of these games because
it's just
they're blowouts.
It's nuts. Anyway, Jordan Travis is now out for Florida State.
That stings.
That does, because that's the Washington of the East.
Yes.
And they were undefeated and cruising through the ACC, and he's a hell of a player. Their quarterback, if you didn't know. And he's now done for the season.
Yeah,
so
bad break.
It's a horrible break. I don't know what happens to Florida State now. What do you think happens?
Well, they got Florida coming up, who's not very good.
They should be able to win that.
They should be able
I
to.
didn't see him with their backup.
I watched a little bit, but it was against North Alabama. So they were down, if you didn't see. They were down early, 14-0 to North Alabama. And Travis broke his leg, I think, when it was 14-7, or might have still been 14-0. And then they came roaring back, and they beat the bejabbers out of them. So, what does that say about Florida State? That you can rout North Alabama? I have no idea. I just would assume that with Florida upcoming, and then you've got the title game is already set with Louisville. I do think if you're Florida State, you have to be perfect. Like, there's no way that a 12-1 Florida State team with a backup quarterback is going to get the nod over anyone. And they're going with this Rodemaker kid, Tate Rodemaker.
Tate,
the Tater, Tate Rodemaker, who I know very little about other than he came in and he looked pretty good. He was 13 of 23 for 217, 2 touchdowns. But again, it was against North Alabama. So I think we'll find out something the next 2 weeks. Remember, Ohio State won a national title with their third quarterback. But Florida State, when you say they're the Washington of the East, it's good comparison because they look good, they keep winning, but it doesn't exactly look dominant.
Well,
and so you would think going to old Rodemaker here, it kind of feels like Florida State may be living on borrowed time.
maybe, but imagine if Washington lost Penix, right? Like, let's compare them again.
Devastating.
Yeah, but let's just say then they beat Washington State and somehow managed to beat Oregon or Arizona in the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah.
What would you be saying about the college football playoff? You'd be saying they should be in.
Yes.
They're undefeated.
Yeah.
So Florida State.
Florida State's undefeated's in no matter what.
So if they win, okay, so you're saying with Travis now out,
Doesn't
if they
matter.
beat Florida and Louisville, they are in the tournament.
Yes. But I think that there's a chance to.
But if they lose,
they're done.
then that will be the reason to dismiss them.
Yes, because this may come down to some 12-1 teams and trying to sort it all out and figuring out who's in, who's out. Michigan, Ohio State, one of those is probably going to be obviously
in conference championship matters.
Exactly.
So Florida State can't lose to Louisville.
No.
They have to win the league.
They have to win the league. So but if you lose to Florida, it doesn't matter. Like, you won't get a chance to redeem yourself. If you lose to Florida and then beat Louisville in the ACC title game, it doesn't matter. You're done. In the one-loss battle, you are not going to get the respect. So your margin for error went away. I don't know if there was one to begin with anyways. It just, to me, it kind of feels like this is the end of the line for Florida State.
That's good for Oregon and Washington, right?
Yeah, there is a scenario, by the way.
Where they both get in?
Yeah, so follow me this. UW just drills Washington State, like beats them by 60, looks amazing, okay? Oregon drills Oregon State, just floors them. They're not even close. Now we go to Vegas, and Oregon wins the exact same game that we had in the first one, wins by a field goal, right? Just back and forth. Penix looks great. Nix looks great, and they lose by a sliver. There's a chance, and I think a solid chance in that, as long as Florida State loses, and whether it's to Louisville or to Florida, if they're gone, if Texas ends up dropping, if Texas ends up dropping
so
one,
you'd have a Pac-12 champ, Oregon, one loss.
Yeah.
They're in. And then you'd have a one-loss Washington.
Yeah.
Who did not win their league.
I think there would be, if Texas lost in the Big 12 title game and Florida State drops one of the next two, I think there's a really, really good chance that Oregon and UW could both get in.
Who is Texas? So the Big 12 just does it two best teams, right?
Two best teams.
So who are they going to play?
I will look.
Kansas State?
I think it's
No, Missouri.
Oh
wait,
Missouri's in the SEC. I think
Kansas State.
I think it's still Oklahoma, but I'll look and see. It might be Kansas State because
Sooner.
Kansas State beat Kansas this
My
weekend.
Jayhawks lost.
Yeah,
Mm.
I will look
On the third string quarterback. Did you know that?
I did see that.
You know who their quarterback is? You know who his daddy is?
I do not.
Chris Ballard.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Well, who's Chris Ballard? Now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Chris Ballard's isn't he the Major League Baseball player, right?
No. Colts GM?
Oh, that Chris. Why am I thinking Chris? Who am I thinking of
I
the
don't
Major
know.
League pitcher?
I have no idea. But his kid is the walk-on quarterback at Kansas now. They're down to their third string guy. And they almost beat K-State, but they lost. So it's probably K-State or Oklahoma.
I'm looking in the conference. So Oklahoma State 6-2, Oklahoma 6-2, Kansas State 6-2. So I don't know how all the tiebreakers.
Oh, a lot left to be played there.
A lot left to be played for. But if you're a UW fan, you want Texas out of there and you want Florida State out of there, and then you'll see what happens in the SEC. You see what happens in the Big Ten.
Yeah, you got a shot.
You got a shot.
You got a shot because you know that Alabama and Georgia are going to play, and you know that Ohio State and Michigan obviously are going to play.
And so in that scenario, you need Georgia to beat Alabama, right? If Alabama wins, then you're hooped because Alabama and Georgia would both go. But if Georgia beats Alabama, it would boot them. If Texas loses, the Big 12's out. If FSU loses, they're out. And then you start looking at it, and it's realistic to think at that point it's the SEC champ, it's the Big 10 champ, and then it's a debate between two Pac-12 schools and two Big 10 schools. And we'll see how that all shakes out.
All right, well, we have another quarterback benched in the NFL. We'll get to that next. Here's Schulte with SportsCenter.
This is Rivalry Week on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
Brought to you by PG Long.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by X Golf. It's indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver or Tualatin, the home of indoor golf, online at xgolfpnw.com. First on the Fan, the Ducks still ranked number 6 in the latest AP poll. Oregon State falling 5 spots to number 15. Oregon is an early 13.5-point favorite for this Friday's matchup. At this point, it's going to be the last game between the two on the schedule for the foreseeable future. Bo Nix being named the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week for the second time in a row. It's his 4th time overall this season and the 7th in his career, which is a Pac-12 conference record. Week 11 of the NFL wrapping up tonight with a Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and Chiefs from Monday Night Football. Kansas City, a 2.5-point favorite. Kickoff set for 5:15 on ESPN. Seahawks coach Pete Carroll says he thinks quarterback Geno Smith will play Thursday night against the Niners after getting hit in a tendon on the bottom of his triceps. Thankfully, no long-term damage. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered straight to you. Follow the Best Football Show with Brian Baldinger on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Colder weather is here, and so is cold and flu season. That means it's the perfect time to bring your kids in for a well child visit. It's a checkup to make sure their development is on track and their immunizations are
simply if Texas wins this week.
Okay. Who they
And,
got?
Texas
Tech.
has
They're playing
they're
Texas
playing
Tech.
Texas Tech, and then if Oklahoma State beats BYU, and they should because we stink, the Huckin' Hebrew damn near pulled it off against Oklahoma, but he sucks. Then it'll be Oklahoma State, and I know you didn't watch it, but
I did not.
It was brutal. If you don't know, BYU has a Jewish quarterback for the first time ever, and we've dubbed him the Huckin' Hebrew, and I love it. But he had some horrible turnovers, including a 101-yard INT pick six. So if Oklahoma State beats the Cougs and Texas beats Texas Tech, then there's your Big 12 title game.
Okay, what happens if Texas loses?
Then there's a bunch of other scenarios. All of those teams that we mentioned, all four of those teams are in play, and it's all very convoluted.
Here, so we found the audio here. We pulled the raw audio because who doesn't like their audio raw?
We love raw.
Here's our man Vic from the Open.
This is a rivalry week edition of Primetime.
Doesn't sound as bad there.
I still hear it.
This is a rivalry week edition of Primetime.
Rivalry week.
I still hear rivalry.
Rivalry week.
You're right about it not sounding as bad. I was kind of trying to pull it and going through. I'm like, is that the one? And then hearing it compared to the other
Well,
ones.
weak
yes,
sounds
that's the
okay,
one.
but he definitely drops a wobble.
We.
Whoa.
This is a rivalry week edition of Primetime.
Red leather, yellow leather.
It's
the
hard.
Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Ow now, brown cow.
We've all done it.
It's hard out here for a radio pimp.
Yeah, it's what we do.
All right, so to the NFL, we've got a couple of notes here. The Jets have benched Zach Wilson.
Thank God.
It's official.
I guess it got ugly on the airplane.
Oh,
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I was just kind of reading through. I do I try to do like a Monday morning recap, just kind of go through and there's different sites where you can get all the different headlines from the papers, and a couple of the New York reporters were reporting that this maybe wasn't Saleh's first choice, but he didn't have a choice because mutiny was on his hands. He said that there were it was I think
The players have had it.
Yeah, I think one word was anarchy after the game.
Well, I mean, that was bad.
Yeah,
you know.
and the players, you can't, whether you think he gives you the best chance or not, which, by the way, says something about the other quarterbacks that you have on your roster.
Totally.
If you have the rest of the team, and it does feel a little bit like their defense maybe
Is giving up a little bit? Yeah.
You can't have it. So, and if you listen to Saleh afterwards, he has always been very positive on Zach Wilson, saying that this isn't the end of him, he's going to come back and blah, blah, blah. I mean, at this point, there's no reason to say any of that. Zach Wilson's probably never going to play in New York again. I don't think Saleh necessarily wants to do this. I think the players forced their hand and they said enough's enough.
Well, okay. I mean, at least he's listening to his team.
Yes.
I mean,
well, you
because you're right. I think this is the $1 million or the whole point here.
Yeah.
Is that Tim Boyle must really suck.
Yes.
Because Saleh didn't want to go to him.
No.
He did not want to bench Zach Wilson for Tim Boyle. That must tell you what they're seeing from Tim Boyle. At the same time,
you can't keep doing this.
His hand was forced, and so Tim Boyle will be starting for the Jets on Friday. Black Friday game.
Yeah.
Against the Dolphins.
And Wilson isn't even the backup. He's third stringer.
Who's the third? The other
who
guy?
is it? It's Boyle, and I'm trying to remember who the other Jets QB was. I'll have to look it up. But Zach Wilson will not be the backup. Zach Wilson will be the third string quarterback on this roster.
Yeah, well, that's code for he's not playing again.
No.
They're not putting him back in there.
He's done. You just can't. And I feel bad for Zach. He wasn't ready to come in to this situation. He's playing behind a bad offensive line.
Well, I think that's a big. Oh yeah, I don't see another quarterback on the roster, but maybe they signed somebody. That's a big part of this, right?
Yeah.
A big part of this is he can't it doesn't matter who you put back there; they're going to be running for their life.
Yes.
But him under duress is just.
Yeah. So when you have a quarterback in there, Trevor Simeon's the backup. So it'll be Tim
Wait,
Boyle.
what? Really?
Yeah, Simeon.
Well, why isn't Simeon playing ahead of Boyle? He's way better than Boyle.
I think the answer is they all suck. So, but yeah, it'll be Boyle, Simeon, and Zach Wilson.
Wow. Okay.
If you.
I would say Simeon's a known commodity. Boyle, it's like a little bit more of a wild card. He could be small chance he could be good.
Well, I mean, Sukes they both suck. But still, Simeon is like at least a guy who we've seen before, like you said, known, and he's not. I mean, but he doesn't.
I think the problem with it is, and this is the thing with Zach Wilson, which I wouldn't. He's not an NFL quarterback right now. He's just not. if he ended up in a better situation, like you saw in the Kansas City game, you saw like maybe a glimmer of hope. You're like, okay, there's something there. When you aren't an uber talented quarterback and you play behind a team that's struggling to run the ball and you're playing behind an offensive line that can't protect you, and your confidence is just dog-ass from the get-go, and you've never had any success, it's hard for anyone to succeed. If you gave me 99% of the backup quarterbacks in this league and you put them in that situation, they're going to struggle. And so right now, you look at Zach Wilson, you say there's no way he can play in this league, and he may never play again. I'm just saying, if he got in a better situation, like let's say Minnesota, where you've seen Dobbs look really good, and believe me, Josh Dobbs is 1,000 times better than Zach Wilson, but when you're playing behind a pretty good old line, you can run the ball a little bit, and you got some receivers there on the outside, and you're not being asked to do everything there, and you're not running for your life, it may look a little bit different. But I mean, right now, the Zach Wilson thing, I can't believe it took this long for the players to say enough's enough, because I think this was the first time I saw their defense roll over and just have no life to them. And
it was the Bills, and they kind of suck.
It's hard to keep playing when you know that your offense has zero to offer. They didn't convert a single third down, and I believe now that they now have one touchdown drive. I believe it's in their last 49 possessions.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's 48, 49.
Oh my God.
One touchdown. I mean,
Tim Boyle should change that.
Look, this isn't all on Zach Wilson, but at the same time, you can only be judged on your performance. And Zach Wilson right now is the worst quarterback in the NFL. So,
yeah, somebody on the Vancouver Ford text line brings up a good point. The Jets are on their 4th quarterback of the year, and they have another standalone primetime game this week.
Yep.
It's true. It's like you can totally see the Aaron Rodgers, like we all wanted to see Aaron Rodgers in primetime, but there ought to be a way to change it a little easier.
Well, you can flex games on some of these, but
they couldn't flex Black Friday, could they?
I don't think you could.
Game.
So
they can't.
We're getting this. I mean, it's so bad.
But they need to take them out of primetime any chance they get.
Well, and I know Rodgers apparently is sending video to the Jets of him working out, saying, "Hey, like he thinks he can come back in another month or so." But
all right.
When you look at their schedule, they're probably going to be 5-9, and at that point, why are you coming back if you're Aaron Rodgers?
All right, a couple of injury notes, including the status of Geno Smith for Thursday's game. That's next on The Fan.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
basketball coming up at 4:30. We do have our stock watch next hour before we dart out of here. I was mentioning some injury notes from the NFL, some key guys, obviously pertaining to Thursday. You know, the Seahawks play Thanksgiving Day game against the Niners.
Yep.
Hufanga out for the season.
Yeah, big ACL tear for them, the all-pro safety, and Oregon native. Yeah, that's a big blow. You know, the Niners, though, have looked really good the last couple weeks, and they do have some depth out there on defense. But anytime you lose an all-pro player like that, it's a blow. And we talk about this all the year, or every year. The NFL, I don't know what percentage it is of teams that go on and have successful playoff runs, but if you would ask me to put a number on it, like if you're a bad team, you stay healthy, it doesn't matter. So if we're doing a jumping off point of, let's say, just good teams, right, that are going to be playoff teams, I think 70% of the battle is a war of attrition and just staying healthy.
Yeah.
You get to this time of the year and you start dropping guys, especially if you lose multiple guys at the same position, it's a death sentence.
Well, or guys that just step up.
Yeah.
And they have some bros who can step up. But as for the Seahawks, Geno Smith.
And that's the one position where you
Oh my
you
God.
can't afford to have anyone go down.
You think?
Yeah.
You want to go into a short week game against the Niners defense and throw Drew Lock out there?
He got a weird. Did you see the Aaron Donald? Like Aaron Donald scarecrowed him. He put his arms straight up and then just ran through and ran through him. It was very weird.
So
it was strange.
Here's what Pete Carroll said today. He said, and it's a shoulder for Smith. He said they're taking a look at it, but they pretty much know what's going on there. It's just how soon it settles down. Like I said, it's a good sign that he's functional, so that's not the issue. So it's just how sore he is. He'll make it back. Carroll was then asked if he meant that Smith will make it back by Thursday, and he said, I would think so.
Yeah. So we hope. I mean, just
So numb that baby up and sling that rock.
problem is that when it's the elbow, you kind
Or
of need
tricep. Sorry, I said shoulder. It was tricep.
you gotta be able. Yeah, it was the tendon in the elbow going up. You kind of need to be able to feel that one. You can't have a dead arm out there. So we'll
That'd be great. Numb his whole throwing arm and see what happens.
Well, I mean, it was who is just Joe Burrow threw a touchdown pass with no wrist tendon. So yeah, he can throw one ball. Remember when Purdy tore his elbow ligament and everyone was like, "You pansy!
Yeah.
What you out there throwing the ball?"
Well, he did go back in the game, didn't he?
He tried to throw one pass and it didn't.
He's like, ah! By the way, that was a huge missed kick, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
Dude, that is such a brutal way to lose. Especially to the Rams.
I know.
Who you've already lost to once.
You know, and it was 16, 17, 16, whatever it was. Like your defense played plenty good enough.
7-3 is so much better than 6-4.
Yeah.
It's just that one stings.
It
and then
does-
you come back and have to play the stupid Niners.
Yeah. And
Wow.
with maybe a healthy Geno, like it's kind of a up in the air thing.
Well, and Walker got hurt too, right?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah,
his-
he's out.
He's done.
Yeah, he's out. So yeah,
Great.
if you're the nice part is when you look through the NFC, like I don't know if you've seen the playoff picture in the NFC or AFC. Dude, there are so many teams that are wedged in there. Like there's even 4 and 6 teams and 5 and 5 teams that you look at and you're like,
Yeah.
well, you're
I
like,
feel like
maybe.
everybody's 5-5 now.
There is certainly a lot of that going on right now, where just there's a ton of teams that are mushed in there. When you look everyone from Pittsburgh to Buffalo to Indy to the Broncos, for God's sakes, right
Won
now
4 in a row.
are 5-5 and feeling pretty good about themselves. The Raiders, for all of their horse nears, they're 5-6, and then in the NFC, we look through there, the Vikings 6-5, Seattle 6-4, and by the way, the Saints are probably going to host a playoff game for God's sakes, and they're not any good. It's just a weird thing. The Green Bay Packers all of a sudden feel like they have some life and may be able to make a run.
The Packers, because 4 and 6, huh?
Because
Chargers.
if you need someone to make Jordan Love look good, I give you the Chargers
God,
defense.
You ain't kidding. By the way, that's another injury. Joey Bosa may be headed to the IR.
That looked like a torn Achilles. Have they said anything?
No, it just said I just saw a scroll that said he might be headed to the injured reserve. So
Because there were a lot of people when you look at we've now all come to look for that weird like leg hop. And we're
Yeah.
like, Achilles. So we'll see.
was that like the guy in the Lakers half court?
Oh my
contest. Did
God!
you
If
see
if you
that?
didn't see
Did
that,
he blow out his
yeah,
ACL?
no, he blew out his Achilles.
That was an Achilles.
That was an Achilles. So if you didn't see, the Lakers were playing at home, and they roll out my man out there, middle-aged dad dude, to shoot for I think it was 50 grand, right? And he goes out there at the half-court shot. He does his little run up to it, and as he goes to push off, the Achilles just snaps, and the ball goes nowhere, right? And he goes down in a heap, and he's grabbing the back, and everyone kind of thought he was just kind of like fooling around because it was such a bad shot, and they tried to stand him up. No, he went right back down. So he went from thinking, oh, dude, I'm going to hit $50,000 on this to I tore my Achilles and probably now have $50,000 in medical bills. Whoops.
Big game tonight. We'll get to that next. And our primetime stock watch coming up on The Fan.
I'm Mary.
Isaac and Sue. Thanks for being with us here on a Monday. We are out of here in about 30 minutes. We got to go.
We're taking receipts, man.
What?
The Colorado thing. I was thinking of Dion. No.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched any of the Washington State game on
God,
Saturday,
no.
but yeah.
Well, I did flip over there, but it was 14-0.
I watched.
And then I was like, well, this is stupid. I'm out of here.
Do you believe?
What they're doing with their offensive linemen is it's malpractice. Like
Well, he
it's
brought his Louis.
it's football malpractice. Like it's I've never seen a coaching scheme be so poor
Well,
in my life.
wasn't the thought on Friday that did I read that people were speculating that Dion has already quit? And he hadn't even prepared for Washington State.
I don't know.
I don't mean quit his job, but just kind of
I just saw that he said it
mailed
was,
in the
it was the
season.
toughest thing that he's ever gone through. But just to keep putting your tackles on islands with no help, no tight end, no back, no chip, no slide, no anything, and just sit there and let them get their teeth kicked in play after play after
by the
play.
Cougs, no less.
Well, the Cougs actually have two good DNs, so it's their two
Yeah, but
best
come on,
players.
I mean, it's not like they're.
This happens week after week after week, and I honestly can't. In all my years of watching and playing college football, I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite so shocking that they refuse to try anything different. It's unbelievable.
What's up, boss? You believe that?
No, you need to fire your offensive line coach and your second offensive coordinator because whatever you're doing, it's like a 3-year-old's running your offense.
So the new rankings, Oregon still 6, so no change there with Oregon, Texas, Alabama, all that.
Yeah.
Florida State dropped 1 to 5, and they lost their quarterback for the season. Washington up 1 to 4, so Washington is in the 4th spot now.
You get a win over a top 11 team in the country on the road, and the other team loses their quarterback for the year. Yeah, UW should move up.
Michigan is still 3rd, although I think Washington should be ahead of Michigan. Georgia is 1, and Ohio State is 2. That's just the AP. We'll get the college football playoff rankings tomorrow.
We'll see because.
But now we have Ohio State, Michigan this week.
Yep.
And maybe Washington, Oregon next week, although Arizona can still sneak into the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah, if you don't know, so Washington's in regardless. They've punched their ticket. They decided to win over the next 2, so the Apple Cup doesn't mean anything as far as that goes. Oregon wins and they're in. Oregon loses. Arizona beats Arizona State. Then the Wildcats are in.
How about that?
If they lose the Territorial Cup, then the Oregon one doesn't matter and they're in regardless. So
where are they playing that game? That Arizona game? Not that it matters because
Arizona State's really bad.
That was
and Arizona is good.
The Cats sneaking into the Pac-12 title game. Wouldn't that be something?
That'd be amazing. And then they would lose Fish to a better job, but
Well, they might lose him anyway.
I know. I'm just saying.
Oregon State is 15 this week, and Arizona is 16. So Oregon State dropped 5 spots.
It's in Tempe, by the way.
It's in Tempe.
Yeah.
Oregon State, being 15th, that's a top 20 win for Oregon should they get it.
Yes.
And they need that because everybody. It's so funny the narratives. The narrative now on Oregon that I've started to see pop up a lot is, oh well, they haven't beaten anyone.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't saying that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When they went in and beat Utah, Utah was ranked 13th. Obviously they have fallen since, but it's just I don't know.
It just
the
stinks.
narratives are funny.
It stinks right now if you're Oregon. You don't have a win over a top 25 team on your resume, but
Utah was 13.
I know, but now they're not ranked. So at the time,
Yeah, I think
yes.
Colorado was ranked. Can we count that? They were ranked.
Look, just keep winning, and it doesn't matter. You can't.
I know,
you can't convince me. As long as they take care of business, they beat the Beavs and they take care of UW, which by the way are 2 monstrous what ifs. Like Oregon State's a damn good football team, and look at last year.
Yeah.
The best way to keep Oregon from scoring a bunch of points is just run the ball. And Oregon State is capable of going on 10-minute drives. I mean, they had the one against UW, and I did think to myself, and they pointed it out on the broadcast, when they went on that last one that ended up being the final possession of the game for them, boy, there was part of me that was like, you are putting a lot of eggs in this basket when you are going this slow and methodical. I think Chris Collinsworth always says that, you're getting 1 versus 2 bites at the apple. And I get the idea of what you're trying to do is you're just going to bleed every second of that clock. But boy, you put yourself under like there's just no margin for error. I'm not certain when they were doing that. I was like, boy, this is a real ballsy play. And it came back to bite them. But, it's the previous drive. They had gone 10 minutes and eaten that up. And so I guess maybe you had some confidence to do it, and you knew that you were going to go all 4 downs every single time, and you were just confident that you were going to shove it down their throat. And give UW credit, because everyone bashes UW's defense, and yet there they were again. Everyone knew what Oregon State was going to do, and UW came up with a stop.
Well, we'll get more into the Civil War. I refuse to call it anything other than the Civil War.
No, it's the Civil War.
How about that?
I don't give a damn either.
So the game is on Friday.
And by the way, with the Apple Cup is going for the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah, that happened yesterday. I saw that.
Yeah,
They signed it for 5 more.
Yeah, so next year it's going to be at
Seattle.
Lumen, 50-50 ticket split.
And then
And
back to
Pullman, UW, back
Good
and
for
forth.
them.
So
Good for them.
yeah, that is a go. And so Civil War, your turn now. Come on, chop chop.
So that game's on Friday, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow. But we got a good game tonight on
Yes.
Monday Night Football. Although
Finally.
I'm watching the
No Taylor Swift though.
I'm watching the pregame, and it's the weather looks awful.
Yeah.
Kansas City is hosting Philadelphia.
Yeah, but again, no Taylor Swift. I don't
No
know.
Tay-Tay?
I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. I got
Watch
no
a football
Where
game.
is she?
I don't know. Apparently she's not coming. So
Why? Why?
I don't know, but now I'm not interested.
Why?
Yeah, the weather looks very Corvallis. And can
Yeah.
I just say, like, that sucks.
Brutal.
I hate. I was sitting there watching that early on and was like, this. I hope it lets up at some point, because that is not. I hate watching games like that, because it's not
I
a
kinda
real,
like it.
it's not an indicator of who's the best team. It's like you're just dealing with a bunch of slop. Guys are like, fumbling the ball and balls going through people's hands, and we had the long snap air. I hate that crap. I absolutely hate when games are decided in awful weather conditions like that. I think it's crap.
See, I don't mind it. I like the occasional snow game or game like that where it's like, you got to adapt.
Yeah,
Get out there and
I don't
figure
like
it out.
Don't like it. And it was for like 2.5 quarters, dude. That thing was insane. What a miserable game to sit through if your team loses. I
So
feel
wait,
for you.
where's Tay-Tay?
I don't know.
Where's my girl?
I guess the parents. The whole thing was the parents were supposed to meet, the Kelseys and the Swifties, and then everyone assumed that Taylor was coming. Then I read a thing today that she's not going to be there.
Well,
so.
she probably doesn't want to step on the
I
family's toe.
I
The
don't
brothers are playing against each other here.
Can I say that I'm like, as much as I'm over the Taylor Swift thing, at least Taylor Swift's interesting. I'm over Donna Kelsey, aka Bruce Phalange.
Why?
I'm just.
Then I've never even seen her talk.
Oh man, she's
What do
like,
you mean?
she's walking to the stadium and she's now sponsored by Raising Cane's. She's sponsored by the chicken place, and
Now is she gonna wear her double jersey tonight?
she's wearing a double Raising Cane's T-shirt. I saw her walking to the stadium and she had her own band and security. I'm just
Have you ever been to Raising Cane's?
no. I hear it's delicious though.
Yeah, I haven't been there either.
I've
we have-
actually, unfortunately, got a very specific reason why Tay-Tay most likely isn't going to be there tonight. A fan passed away during one of her concerts down in
What?
Brazil. Yeah, it's been we're talking 100, 110 degrees, and they had actually originally postponed one of those concerts because of just crazy weather, and then I think just trying not to put everybody in the heat. And I saw clips where she was during those concerts, trying to make sure people got water all over the stadium. But apparently a fan passed away because of the excess heat. So I would assume Tay-Tay's, it's just not a good look if she's up here having fun on Monday Night Football. It's obvious that she is a little bit more sensitive than that.
No, well, there you go.
Well, she never makes a misstep. That one, she knows the right. That is the right thing to do. You can't be showing up to a Monday Night Football game partying.
That's a bit of a commute too.
People
but-
will not like that.
No, that's a bit of a little
Lay
jaunt
low.
there. From
Fan dies, lay low.
send out thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, even on the private jet. How many hours is that?
I don't know. That's
So from Rio to KC.
KC, right? I don't know.
When I was a kid, I think Sao Paulo to Chicago was about 10, 11 hours. So that's my best memory there. But it's been a while. We got faster planes now.
More importantly, there's a Raising Cane's in Pioneer Courthouse Square, and so I feel like I'm going to need to go get
Really?
some chicky tendies.
I didn't know we had a Raising Cane's here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll never eat there, but I've always heard about Raising Cane's.
Yeah, I need to get some chicky tendies. Though I love a good attendee. Makes me feel like I'm 8 years old again, and I've heard phenomenal things.
Great childhood memories.
Yeah, like when you were a kid,
Honey mustard.
yeah, I was a sweet and sour sauce guy myself, but yeah,
Controversial.
good sweet and sour sauce. I will say that is it Tom's Hot Chicken that's around here too?
Dave's Hot Chicken.
Dave's Hot
That's-
Chicken.
Yeah.
Bill's.
Go get yourself some Steve's Hot Chicken.
It's Dave's Hot Chicken.
No, I think it's Gary's.
Yeah, Gary's Hot Chicken. That place, phenomenal. Yeah, I'm a big fan. It went out in Clackamas. Very, very tasty.
All right, we got to get out of here because up next is our Primetime Stock Watch, what we're buying and selling from the weekend in sports on the Fan.
It's time for Who's Leading the Charge. A look under the hood at the coaches, players, and teams getting it done. Brought to you by Battery Exchange.
And the snap back to throw off little play action. Wants to go deep. Then for Franklin, he has got it! Touchdown, Oregon! Tremendous throw and a better catch. Troy Franklin with coverage, he made that play.
Was that another check down? Oh, wait. No, they throw the ball downfield.
42-0 at half.
Troy Franklin, by the way,
Really?
finalist for the Blitnikoff Award.
Yeah.
It's going to go to Marvin Harrison Jr., and I get it, but Franklin and Ndunze are as good as anyone in the country. Troy Franklin, by the way, just broke a bunch of Oregon single season records with that Arizona State game. He might go down as the best receiver ever at Oregon.
Battery Exchange, free electrical system checks at 14 area locations. Battery Exchange with an X.com.
The Ducks keep their goals alive.
So screen pass coming left. Herbert's got it. He's got blockers. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Ducks.
And a rival stands in their way.
Yeah, this game's our Super Bowl. They're obviously a really talented team. They're coached extremely well. They embrace hard, right? Because with hard comes results.
Talk about it and get the inside story from your
is the man who can smile when his shorts are too tight in the seat.
Primetime Stock Watch is brought to you by 1-800-DIVORCE. When you need to take stock of your rights, 1-800-DIVORCE is on your side. Call 1-800-DIVORCE today.
You know, in all the hullabaloo of Tay-Tay, I was going to ask you who you like tonight, Chiefs or Eagles?
I'll take the Chiefs just being at home.
Okay.
But I wasn't going to bet it. Was it like 2.5?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Weather looks, I mean, it's windy and rainy.
Yeah, no, because of that, it kind of makes me lean towards Philadelphia. I think they're the more physical team. But, you know, Chiefs defense is for real this year.
All right, it is time for Stock Watch. Now, unfortunately, this is our last segment of the day.
Is it?
Or fortunately, depending on...
How you feel about Oregon pregame?
Yeah, the Ducks basketball.
The Florida A&M Rattlers, I believe?
Yeah, it's coming up next.
Yeah.
Here's Jordan Schultz.
I have full confidence, like I've told you, and like I've told you from the beginning, I have full confidence in our way of playing. Full confidence in myself as the play caller, in the way that we teach, in the way that we scheme. Full confidence in that. We got to bring this group together and do it consistently, okay? And that's where it's at. So you can stop asking that question, okay? I'm going to be calling the defenses, okay? So we're clear. So you don't have to ask that again.
That is Chargers head coach Brandon Staley responding to a question about his questionable defensive play calling and if he is going to continue to hold those reins going forward. He obviously said yes. He has been absolute ass in his time in Los Angeles. 23-21 overall record.
Who is ass?
4-6 so far this year. And if y'all remember correctly, yes, he blew the chance to tie with the Raiders and go to the playoffs along with them. So buy or sell, you guys, he will not last the rest of the year.
No, he's done. I would assume that much like in the Jets locker room, they're going to start breaking soon. And look, that's not all on Staley. I mean, Allen had a couple drops at the beginning, including a couple at the goal line. The rookie receiver out of TCU had that one. Herbert put it right in his hands at the end. He catches that, and Quentin Johnson, and that's a game-winning field goal. So I'm not going to say that that's all on Staley, but how many times do we see the Chargers charger? And they made Jordan Love look like a Hall of Famer. Jordan Love sucks. So what are you doing? Get rid of Brand. If I'm a Charger fan, I don't want to see them go on a little run here, because even at 4-6, you're not out of the playoffs. You do not want any way this guy to be back. Get him out of there and get someone in and see what you can do. There's too much talent on this team to continue to do this crap.
Their next game is against the Baltimore Ravens. So that ought to go well.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it is on Staley because he's the head coach.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, the coach, doesn't play the games, but my God, I mean, they're just a bad football team, period. Now,
a talented bad football team.
That said, I believe that he will last the season. I think that that owner there in LA, he's super cheap, and I think he's probably sitting there going, well, I need a new coach at the end of the year, but I don't think he's gonna fire him until they play whatever 6 games left.
They're 4-6. They got 7 left.
7 games. So they have Baltimore, New England, and Denver. Their next 3.
Well,
a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean Denver's got a couple wins under their belt and is looking better and better.
And then you get the Raiders. And then Bills, Broncos, Chiefs. Yeah, I don't know. No, I think he's toast. I don't see any way he comes back. But I don't think they're going to fire him during the season just because of the owner's reputation.
All right, on to college football.
I don't know when I've seen a worse coaching job by anyone than Lincoln Riley this year. It's a complete disaster, and quite frankly, he ought to pack up. I don't know. I don't really see what his path is moving forward. He blamed everything on Alex Grinch. They haven't been any better. They've been worse. I mean, maybe Lincoln, you ought to look in the mirror. Maybe you're just a total fraud as a coach. Maybe you just lived off of a couple of Heisman winners, and what Oklahoma did for you, and all the people in Oklahoma who were heartbroken 2 years ago and who never thought they'd get over that blow off. They're over it now because Lincoln Riley is nowhere near the coach that we all collectively tried to make him out to be. And have you ever seen a college season ruin more than what Lincoln Riley did for Caleb Williams?
That is SEC extraordinaire Paul Feinbaum on the Matt Berry Show.
Holding back, huh?
Talking about Lincoln Riley, yeah. Lincoln Riley has been pretty terrible, especially the last few games. You can say that he's been very lucky, like Paul Feinbaum did with a couple of very talented quarterbacks, has been riding the coattails of Caleb Williams from 22 into this season, and it has been going absolutely terrible. 5-4, had to fire Alex Grinch. So, guys, do you buy or sell that Lincoln Riley should have never been hired in the first place?
This is so stupid. This is just so dumb. So he ran the number one offense basically in the country for years at Oklahoma, developed Baker Mayfield, and then coached Kyler Murray and made Jalen Hurts into a Heisman Trophy level player. Took USC in his first year there to a doorstep of a Pac-12 title and won a Heisman Trophy with Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams got hurt in the Pac-12 title game. And yes, this year was an absolute disaster. Fired his defensive coordinator, all of that. So we had a bad year coming off of a 10 or 11 win season and a Heisman Trophy, and now somehow that he was the wrong hire, and that this is like some sort of disaster that USC can't get over. I mean, my God, people. It's so stupid. And maybe in a couple years we do find out that Lincoln Riley isn't made for USC, and that the Big Ten ends up swallowing it up, and that he can't recruit and all these things. But what evidence do you have in Lincoln Riley's entire career outside of this year where it went wrong? And now we're saying that he was the wrong hire and that he should pack up and go home. I'm sorry, that's stupid.
I just don't think anybody's saying that besides that doofus.
Yeah.
That guy Feinbaum's a boob. I can't. So for all these years of doing sports talk, you always heard about Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah.
Because he does a sports talk show down in the South and very popular, syndicated all over the South, right? All over the country, really. TV. I think he's on our TV at home. I think I saw him on there once and watched, and was every time I watch him or hear him or see anything he says, I am thoroughly unimpressed.
Yes.
I just don't get that dude.
He talks to Dolores from.
Yeah, and that
Birmingham.
commentary is so dumb. Lincoln Riley is 73-18 as a head coach. 73-18.
Yeah.
And went 12-2, 3 straight years at Oklahoma. Now, if you want to say, hey, the thing about Lincoln Riley is he needs to get over the hump in these bowl games, these big bowl games,
Sure.
right? He's 0-3 in the college football playoff. He's 1-4 in bowls. That's fair. But the idea that he's just a horrible hire and was the wrong hire for USC, my God. I mean, I don't even want to. It's just not even worth a. There's so much of this noise in sports these days where it's just these hot takes that.
Yeah.
Why are we even talking about this?
Bill Platsky in the LA Times, he wrote a column about this
What did he
over the
say?
weekend, saying that he's on the hot seat and saying that he should be.
He's on the hot. Like they're going to fire him?
The whole point of his column is that Lincoln Riley's seat just got a lot hotter. And
well, look, it wasn't good. Okay, they're 7-5.
Yeah.
It's not going well.
No.
I get that, but Jesus,
how quickly somewhere Dabo is going to call Lincoln and just put an arm around him and be like, "Hey, man, I get it." It's the same thing like that. I mean, this is why Dabo was so pissed.
Calm down.
Dabo's won 11 games, 11 out of the last 13 years or whatever, won 2 national titles, and people are like, "You suck."
You think they got their eye on Prime?
Yeah.
Everybody's got their eye on Prime, according to half the national media right now.
Because
they're worse.
His year went so well at Colorado.
Jeez.
All right, I actually, guys, I don't think we have time for the third one.
What?
We got to get out in 2 minutes. So.
Oh, that's plenty of time.
All right,
Let's
Fire
go.
it
Let's
up.
go.
Here we go. Come on.
Go back to that. It's like the Ted Lasso.
Jim Harbaugh.
You know, believe. And what comes out of that is believe, and I'm just so proud. Just so proud of our team. Despite that noise, our locker room's in one piece. And like that for me, locker rooms, a lot like my mom's bathing suits. I can see them in one piece.
He's just a wacky one, so buy or sell, guys. Jim Harbaugh is the Dan Campbell of college football.
Oh,
Buy or
God,
sell that.
no. Dan Campbell's very likable.
What does that mean?
That means that he is just kind of out there, not necessarily always agreeable, but guys fight to the death for him.
Campbell is likable. He's lovable.
Players coach.
Harbaugh's an ass.
Aren't they both players coaches, though?
Yeah.
Harbaugh is an ass, but I think these players love him.
I think he wears out his welcome wherever he goes. But yes, inside the locker room, a lot of his players do swear by the guy.
Yeah, so I can see where you're going with that. Dan Campbell. Who's the Dan Campbell of college?
Someone that's just all high tea like that.
Well,
running
it used to
around.
be Ed Orgeron.
Ed probably would have been. Have you
Who'd you
seen him
say?
hawking like
Dan Lanning.
Oh, Lanning.
Lanning's got a little
That's
of that.
pretty good. That's pretty
Ogeron's doing commercials now with his shirt off
Yeah,
for
I
like
saw that.
testosterone pills or something.
He's hot.
He's like, I'm Coach Joe. I got my shirt off.
Anywhere. All right, we got to run. The Ducks game is coming up next. They're playing Florida A&M. Enjoy that.
Enjoy the pregame.
Big show tomorrow as we have to cram a lot in this week. So Hugh Betcha, Dan Lanning, and Joey Harrington will all be on our show on Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll start digging into Rivalry Week with Will Ortner in for Jordan tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow 3 to 7 on The Fan. Good night.
Red ships of Spain. Red ships of Spain.
Papa Murphy's. Change the way you pizza.
Parents, are you tired of